welcome back to RC Icons. In this video, I know, another Buyee box. Buyee box number 487. Boy, it's been a whirlwind. I really haven't been on Buyee much, to be honest. I do have another box coming. I say this all the time, I'm done, and then there's another box coming. And there is another box coming, and it's funny because I finally bought the kit. Excuse the dogs. I finally bought the kit for one of these bodies and another body that I had already bought from Kyosho. But I've been after that kit for so long. Again, that's a kit and a story for the next video. But yes, another Buyee box. So I have a bunch of stuff here, and I actually have a kit sitting down below next to me. So let's get the camera over here and see the dogs. I'm sorry. Let's see what it is that we have that came in. Alright, so we'll get started with the small stuff as usual. I seriously hope it's not a pile of Lotus springs like the last video. Lotus springs and double card-on shafts for TRF cars was in the last one. Piles and piles of both. Actually, I do know one thing that's in here. So these are just gear diffs for DB01. I gave some away and just wanted to replenish the stock. Oh yes, I've got Yokomo parts in here for the MX4 build. This is finally the last of what I needed. So this is just shock parts, caps, and the bottoms. I actually had a broken eyelet, and I could have just bought an eyelet, but I wanted it to match the rest of the ones on the car. So I actually bought Yokomo stuff. And then, if you remember, I didn't have springs. So there's a set of front springs. Should be a set of rear springs in here as well. Yeah, we'll do get that out of the way. So now I've got the correct front and rear springs for my shelf queen. Yep. This might be shock rebuild kit. Yep, shock rebuild kit for the MX4. So this is upgraded Kyosho steering, and it's actually the stock steering for some of the Pure 10 cars, but it's the steering bell cranks, the blue upgraded steering bell cranks that you see on a ZXS. The blue really hardened plastic. So that is cool as hell. I'm glad I won that, and that was short money. Those are extremely hard to find, the blue ones. Very sought after part. As well as this is a very sought after part. Alloy steering for 201, TRF 201. Somebody paid $500 for that. I don't know who it was. It wasn't me. But somebody did. So just some random Lotus parts, ball ends, ball cup ends. I wanted some Lotus ones. just because I've got a lot of Lotus cars now and they're not necessarily the same size. They're 440 and most of the stuff I have is like a 4.8 mil, and if you use that on there, it's just a little bit tight. So I know Shoemaker is a different size, Lotus is a different size, so try to keep some stuff around. Oh yes. So the car that I got from Lou MX4 did not have wheels and tires. And although Jason at True Vintage gave me a bunch of rims, 97 rims, I didn't have tires. And I don't know if these are like, I don't even know if the car came with tires, to be honest. But this was a brand new set. It's got Hot Laps TF 320s in the front. And it's got, you know, the X pattern. Hot Laps TR 37s in the rear. So that will go on my Shelf Queen. Brand new wheels, nice and white. My other MX4 that I bought built has a really nice white set of wheels on it, but you can tell these are original. They've got almost like that greenish nylon tint to them, whereas the other ones, I'm not sure if those are original MX4 wheels. They look a little bit too white. So that's the small stuff. Now we'll get into the bigger stuff. Trying to see which body is which. Alright, so this one I think is the one I already have. I really already have both of them, to be honest, but one more so than the other. No, it's the other way around. So 2 years ago, you saw me build my TF3, which is the Lotus GT1. And after that build, I had painted the Lotus body in the yellow, and I backed it in black, and I wasn't really happy with it. If you watch that video, you'd see I'm not really happy with the way the body came out. So this is a new body set for that particular car. It's got 2 sheets of decals. That's the Lotus GT1 body. Again, I have this body on my TF3, and it still has not been run. I am going to run it. I'm going to run it with that body on it. But I was able to land this, I think it was $27. So TF3 Lotus. This came from, I think this came from the kit. Somebody didn't use the body when they built it. So very familiar body to me. But in that video and in a couple of videos, I've always talked about how I want the McLaren kit, the TF3 Pure 10 Spider McLaren kit. I always liked the McLaren body set better. So this is the McLaren GTR body set. Now, this body commands big money. When I say big money, I've seen them sell for over 100, which I think is outrageous for a touring car body. But I was able to land this for a reasonable price. I think it was a buy it now, and it was way more than 27, but it was not near 100. It might have been 60. But that's the McLaren body, and it's just got so much better lines. So this is how dumb I am, right? Because in my mind, I was like, well, I have a spare body for the TF3 for when I run it, so that way when that body gets destroyed, I can do the Lotus body again. I bought this because I've got another TF2 chassis that I can put this on. It'll go right on it. And I would have the McLaren and the Lotus just like I wanted. Well, a couple of months ago, I had landed this McLaren GTR body set. This is the Gulf livery. This one's not the Gulf livery. It's a little bit different. And I was curious to see if this was the same body, because I thought this might go... They're a little bit different, which is actually a good thing, because I think this might go... So you can see this one's the Gulf livery and the other one is not. But I think this might go on the Pure 10 Spider gas car, nitro car. And that might be why it's a little bit different body set or longer. Either that or it was just a later offering for the same TF3 that's over there. This one's got a little bit of mold on it, but it does have protective film on it, so I'm not really worried about it. I know it'll clean up when it goes to get painted. I actually prefer, I think, the Gulf livery to... I forget what livery that one is. So here I am now with two McLaren body sets for Pure 10 cars, and I ended up with this kit. It's coming in now. You'll see it in the next Buyee box. But I ended up winning the McLaren kit for about what you would pay for a TT02 kit. So I'm excited for the kit, but it was like I bought all these bodies and now I've got the kit coming anyway. So whatever. I'll have a McLaren runner. I'll have a Lotus GT1 runner, because I can run this body on the TF2, and I still have the Gulf body even when... or if I decide to use that one. I know I'm an idiot. You guys don't need to tell me in the comments. I know I'm an idiot. So, the last piece of the puzzle in this box. Years and years ago, I bought this along with a Dandy Dash. So this is a Nikko Super Sprint car, and it's all original. Still has the mechanical speed control in it, right? This car was raced. If you're not familiar with Nikko, they did 3 hobby grade cars: the Dandy Dash, the Super Sprint, and the Brat. This has the actual Upworks motor in it, which is super rare. And so does the Dandy Dash that I have. And it's got all Nikko radio gear. I have the dual stick controllers for this. Oil-filled shocks, resistors on the side. So this is a whole car. And I figured at some point I would probably restore this. My Dandy Dash, you can't see it, but it's in the cabinet. It has the upgraded alloy oil-filled shocks, and the chassis is brand new. Like, not a mark on it. This one's got a little bit of marking on it, but not terrible. So this car has always been kind of sitting in the background. Now, long-term followers know I had a Brat that was built that I called my Runner Brat because it had 2 little scars on the bottom of it, that I actually gave to Jason at True Vintage. I knew he wanted one. I have 2 kits, and they're a 2-part kit, a conversion kit, and if you don't have a Super Sprint to convert, there's a kit 2 that you need to build them up as new. And I have 2 complete kits, and my intention was, I gave my Runner Brat away. I was going to build another one from the kits for the shelf, and then I still had a set of kits for my new unbox collection because it does have some presentation to it. Now, that left me with no runner, which really isn't the end of the world because the Brat can be a fragile car. But then, and it doesn't come with an under tray. Although it's got a FRP chassis, there's no real under tray to it. Well, Ant, Jason's friend over in Australia, way back in the 90s, when the Brat had first come out, Jason had a Brat. He was running his. The Brat was actually in, I think, the 89 IFMAR at St. Ives. Nikko Brat running in the IFMAR. But regardless, there was enough hype that Ant, who's like an engineering marvel, I know he's a master electrician, but he's also an engineer, had made a buck back then out of some kind of wood, plywood or whatever, to fit the Nikko Brat chassis. And back then had made some under trays for Jason and whoever was running those cars. Fast forward 30 years, I sent Jason his car, and Jason contacted Ant and asked him if he still had the buck, and Ant did. So Ant made 2 under trays. This was literally last year. One for Jason's car and one that Jason sent me. So in my mind, I could build one of those new kits as a shelf queen, but now I could put the under tray on it and actually run it. Obviously, if you scratch the arms or any other part of the car, it is what it is. It's just the under tray that's going to get protected at this point. So, long story short, and you know where I'm going with this, last year when I was in Australia, I came across this Super Sprint lot, which has a chassis. Again, it's got some marks on it because it's a run chassis. And then it's got a bunch of internals, hinge pins, hardware, front uprights that are in alloy, dog bones, out drives, just a bunch of random stuff in there. And then also was internals, right? So center diff, gears, arms, belt, again, arms, rear uprights, just parts, piles of parts. Gearbox. So I had gotten this for pretty short money. I think it was like $100. There's a set of bell cranks in there. And it was just going to be kind of like my spare parts for when and if I ever restored that or ran it or what have you. So a lot of parts are shared with the Brat. Now the Super Sprint is all in red. The Brat is in yellow. This came up on Buyee, and it's just the conversion kit. It does not, there's no kit 2 that was sold with this. He is selling a kit 1 and 2. Same seller, but I already have 2 of those and wasn't really interested in a third kit. This was way cheaper to just buy the conversion kit, and inside the conversion kit you get the Brat body, you get a new set of arms, which really isn't a big deal because you can use the Super Sprint arms if you want. The arms don't really change. It's got new uprights. It's got the shock towers in yellow like it's supposed to be for the Brat. So when you do the conversion, it's not like you're using the red plastics. You get the decal package. You get the Brat chassis, which again, we have an under tray for now. And you can see that it's perfect, right? And then inside this, you get the belt, gearboxes, everything that you need to convert. Is your rear Brat wing, your hardware, more hardware, anti-roll bars, and you get your Brat bumper. So everything in here is what you need to convert a Super Sprint over to a Brat. So now, and that's obviously what I'm going to do. I'll build a kit new from the ground up for the shelf, but I'm also going to build this one as my runner. So it'll still essentially be a new Brat, It's just going to be a new converted brat. So I'm actually going to put that under tray in here. I would love to have Ant print me out or mold me a couple more under trays, because having that part is huge. But now, whether we use this Super Sprint to do the conversion, or whether I'm able to pull it off with the parts that I have, one way or another, we're going to build this brat as my runner. And it will still be essentially brand new. And then I still can build my other one for the shelf, and I'll still have my new one box. I was tempted to buy... I feel like that's not cut in the right spot. I was tempted to buy the Kit 1 and Kit 2, but you have to understand, Kit 1 and Kit 2, as outrageous as it is, they sell around $2,000. And they have sold for $2,000 for years. They're always about the same price, between $1,800 and $2,000. If you want new in box, you can find them. I've seen 5 or 6 kits come up for sale. Like I said, I have 2 complete part 1 and part 2 kits. They do come up. I've seen them sell as 2 kits on eBay a couple of times for over $1,800. And when this came up as just the conversion kit, it was not even anywhere near, like, let's just say that it was $900 per kit. Not even close. This was not even close to that. So it allowed me to get a third brat, i.e. runner brat, built. Whether I have to sacrifice my Super Sprint or not, that's fine. For probably a third of the cost of buying one. The last built brat I saw sell went over $1,200. So they're just expensive. They're expensive cars, and that's just because of the rarity and the story behind it. So super cool that I was able to get this, and again, at some point I'll get to building it, although I have a tendency to say all that and never have time, but someday I will have the time and I will do this conversion, and I don't know, maybe we'll see it on YouTube. I don't think a brat's ever been built on YouTube short of the one that I rehabbed for Jason. So that's it for this box. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd ask you to consider subscribing to support the channel and my madness. And leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks.